was actually at a talk you gave at a small conference, one of my investors, and I remember you left the people who are founding companies and so on in this space with kind of a call to action of please don't just focus on building these things and trying to make money, but like try to make a difference. These decentralized technologies have the potential to give us a different kind of internet, as Cindy was just talking about. How do you feel today, and can you sort of give us some thoughts as to like in your words, like what you think is important for us to be thinking about going forward as builders of this new technology?
When you think about all of the things that we've discussed today, the ills of society, how those are reflected and manifested through the internet, and really just the automation, the instrumentalization, the operationalization of all of those things, how they're expressed to maintain the system, right? When we hear phrases like national security, we need to understand what they are. National security is not protecting you and me. It's not public safety, where they say public safety. These are not about policing actions generally. It's about protecting the stability of the system. In the old days, we used to call it state security, which was a little more honest. We need to recognize that everything that we do interacts with these systems that are larger than us, and they will be co-opted and they will be used by these systems for their own intention. And we need to think about the fact that what we've lived through in the last half century is basically the greatest redistribution of power in history yet seen. I think the individual has been made more legible to powerful forces, to centers of power, than they have ever been in history, right? You go back to like the Stasi, whoever your villains of history are, with their great surveillance, and they didn't know a damn thing. It was absolute garbage compared to what one social media company can know today about any given person. Not just their users, but the people that their users connect with, right? Or someone like, if it's at the scale of Facebook. Facebook just bakes their SDK, their software development kit, into your weather app or whatever. You just want to get crash analytics or something, but they leech everything out of that phone. And what we are doing is we are building architectures of oppression. In many cases unknowingly, in many cases unwittingly or unintentionally, or simply because we did not care enough, or because our imagination failed, right? And I think what we need to do is look at these structures as we design them and think about how they can be used for the betterment of people, capital P people broadly. I think one of the most encouraging things about like the cryptocurrency space and everybody who's building on these different chains is that they understand the value of decentralization. Everything that Cindy just described, everything that we've been dealing with today, we're talking about the concentration of power, the concentration of resources in fewer hands that increasingly do not need to be answerable to the public, but is that the public has lost meaningful levers of applying consequence, right? One of the interesting things about the movement towards greater decentralization is it rejiggers all those levers. We no longer need the same levers for consequence if the sort of options for abuse on the other side are diminished. And this is something governments really haven't done a great job catching savvy to recently. Like I think Jerome Powell just a day or two ago was like, Bitcoin is not really a threat to the dollar or fiat currency. It's more of a competitor with gold. And like if you kind of squint your eyes and look at it sideways, you can get to the point that he was trying to make, but really he's missing the forest from the trees there. Whether it's gold, as it has been throughout history, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's puka shells, whether it's something else, if government money, if corporate credits, if centralized platforms fall out of favor for a decentralized authority, one that has no central authority, all of the privileges of the modern world that it grants, that it invests into central authorities, will begin to evaporate, right? And that is a very different world. And speaking frankly today, it is very, very far away, what it appears to be. But when the movement begins, it can happen very quickly. And I think all of us, and particularly the people working in this space, they design, they engineer, they build, they decide the moment that that movement begins. And I think, given the direction that the world is going today, it's natural to recognize it's risky. It's natural to recognize that it's disruptive. And in a lot of ways, it will be unjust. But we also have to ask ourselves, what are the consequences? What are the costs of inaction, of failing to move, and of perpetuating a system that we know and itself admits is unfair?
Well said. Thank you, Edward. Thank you, Cindy, for a very entertaining and interesting and very thought-provoking session.
Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure to be with you. And I got to say, for everybody who sees these things, for everybody who's far away, sitting in their bubble, I think I've still got the social distancing frown. But everybody sees these things nowadays in this crazy world and all this instability. They're like, oh, stay safe, stay safe.
Yeah.
Particularly in this community, we've got to be comfortable recognizing that there is no freedom from risk in a free society. If liberty is a state of potential, of freedom from permission, being able to act without someone saying, okay, you can do this, there are people that will do great things with it. There are people who will do bad things with it. There will be people who are trying to do a good thing and it just goes sideways, right? We have to have the risk of failure. We have to have the risk of consequence because risk is the seed of consequence. Risk is the seed of progress. Also consequences can be good and bad. But this is why I say, whenever we close out one of these things, don't stay safe, guys. Stay free. Thank you.